Hello everybody, Malekith here, and welcome to SOLASTA Crown of the Magister. So for those who are not aware, this just went into full version 1.0 release, which is all of the content is now available. I've had this for a few months and I played a little bit of it to see whether I'd like it or not, but because it wasn't content complete and the saves weren't guaranteed to be forward compatible with the latest version while they were doing development, I decided to put it on pause until now, when it's fully released, and that's no longer an issue, because no one likes losing their saves. So this is a RPG game set in the 5th edition of Dungeons & Dragons, which is the latest one. It uses the SRD, which is the freely available stuff. So if you wanted to recreate this on tabletop, you could do that without having to spend a penny. But it does mean that a lot of the options that people are used to for when they've actually bought into the books and things, you will not find in this game. What we're going to do to start with is I will create the party, which means making characters. So if you're watching this back later, you will have you should have a timestamp down on the timeline that you can skip to the actual gameplay if you want to bypass this bit. But I will show you. If you're playing this yourself, there are some pre-generated characters you can see here, but if you want to make your own, in you come. So, as I said, it's the SRD only. Also, it was a smaller development studio based off of a Kickstarter, so they only could put in as many races and classes as they got funding for. There's still a reasonable selection here, but you will see some missing if you are familiar with Dungeons & Dragons. So, I think the thing to start with is picking up party roles. So we're going to want a face character, which is going to be a charisma based, and half elf is the only one there I think that gets any kind of bonus to charisma, because you're missing the tiefling and such like. So let's have a half elf, and so these are the classes you've got options of. As you can see, there are a few missing, and the only class there that really gets any benefit from charisma is Paladin, which probably means we're going to be missing out on fighter. So Paladin will be our front line. It'll also be our party face. Let's have a look at what equipment. So this is the starter equipment. So if he's going to be in the front line, we're going to want him to have a shield. Should we stick with the longsword? I mean, it's pretty traditional. It's going to get replaced as soon as you find whatever you find in the game, so why not? Holy Eminent Chainmail. Do we need a priest pack? Let's give him an explorer's pack, because we're going to end up with a cleric who can probably grab the priest pack for us. Right, next. So then we have to pick our deity. Now these are not obviously the Faerun deities, it's their own setting, but you get a little blurb over here. Let's see. Let's go with neutral good. And choices. Let's see, thinking, so we're probably gonna get academic on a wizard. The acolyte probably line up better with a cleric. Philosopher though. What does sellsword bring? Proficient with medium armor. Should have heavy armor from being a paladin, I would have thought. So that doesn't really get us anything new and fun. But athletics and intimidation are both good. Let's go with that then. So we get an extra language, campaign ribbon, some gold, clothing. So obviously when you're playing D&D normally, you roleplay your character and you generate your background and their behaviour. That's not possible here because they obviously have to have scripted moments and your characters need to behave as per their background. So they've implemented this little sort of personality flag system, which is what you're seeing over here, if you were unsure what this was, because this is not what you will find in a normal Dungeons & Dragons. So we will go with authority, and probably shouldn't scoff at principles if you're a paladin, really. Good kindness. But we'll have pragmatism and altruism. Yeah. So he's a reasonably goody paladin, but not massively lore-driven. So, this is the stats. Now, you've got point buy, which is where you have a pool of points and you can increase things, and the higher you increase them, obviously your pool goes down. That's fairly standard. You have standard array, which is what I will be using, or if you want to cheese the game, you have unlimited dice rolls. So obviously you could sit here for ages until you get something like, let's see, what's going to be, you want an 18 on that front one, there you go, like 18, 17, that's a ridiculous stat array. All this will do is make the game easier, even though you've already got a difficulty setting that you've picked. So I will be straying away from that and sticking more to the standard array, which is also my preference in the tabletop, to be honest. I don't like the whole ending up with a Mary Sue style character that can do absolutely everything. Right, now we want, so this is, because we're a half elf, we get to add +1 to 2 different stats, so we're going to add them to strength and constitution. We'll drop the 15 in there to get 16 strength, 14 over there to get 16 charisma, and 13 there to get 14 constitution, because obviously even numbers are when the plus bonus goes up. Now, the decisions, we're going to have him not be very intelligent. I have him be reasonably wise, because that's spell saves, and then dexterity is not such a problem, because we're going to chuck him in heavy armor as soon as we can. I think I'm happy with that. So then you get his skills. So he's already proficient in some based on what we've previously picked. So we've got athletics and intimidation already. So we've got 2 ancestry, 2 class. So we've got 4 to pick. We probably want... Oh, one thing to note. You'll see this little eye icon. So although it's part of the rule set, Crown of the Magister does not make use of it. So it gives you some hints as to not wasting your skills. Right, so I think Persuasion's going to be a good one. And... we're still Charisma, aren't we? Do we want Deception on him? I think we'll put Deception, because he's the party face. So then we want Insight, even though he's not really that wise, just so he can read into who he's talking to. And I mean, he should probably have religion, right? And we're gonna have a cleric, we're gonna have a wizard. Someone else can pick those. Chuck him a medicine. Alright, languages. Well, loads of them aren't used, so I guess we'll pick one of the ones that is. Right, and we get to change how he looks. Seeing as he's just come into chat, oops, we will give Josh the honour of being the party face and frontline man, protecting his friends. I think other than that, I'm not going to get too in-depth into changing all of this nonsense, but we will go through the voices.
Found a door here.
So, advanced warning on the voices. As I mentioned earlier, it is a Kickstarter game. They are not the greatest. And I think it's this one.
What an idiot! Found a door here.
So when I was originally playing, I stuck this on the wizard because it sounded sort of old and gruff, and he was basically the Gandalf type wizard. Turns out it's not so much wise old grumpy wizard voice. It's Cockney gangster, I'm going to kick people's faces in on the curb voice once you actually get further into the game and hear a few more voice lines.
Light, my friend. No quarter given.
So I think maybe we will keep that on the Paladin. Doesn't really seem to affect his face. Oh, yeah, the eyes are going, aren't they? But we will physique him up because why not? So, 3 more characters to go. Let's see. If we're going to do a rogue, I'm going to want Sylvan. Let's go for a rogue. So we definitely want a rapier. I would like a longbow because you get longbow proficiency. Oh no, you don't. Wait, sure, elves get longbows. Maybe it's further down. Hopefully we can find a longbow. We'll stick with the shortbow for now. They're going to be the only one that gets access to the burglar's pack, so we might as well keep that. Get some thieves' tools. Right, I'm going to go for the spy background. I don't usually like the sort of the thieving criminal rogue. I prefer rogues to be more... I was going to say Han Solo, but I guess even he's a thief in some ways. Sort of less about necessarily just stealing for yourself and more just about generally being sneaky and underhanded, maybe. So caution and pragmatism fit my ideals quite a bit. We'll make him cynical. And I'm going to double down on the pragmatism. So standard array. Right. So dexterity. Let's dump the 14 in there to bump it to uneven. Wisdom for the 16. Now you end up with the problem of rogues never having enough constitution. He's not really going to need strength. He will potentially have to investigate and search the things, so intelligence isn't a horrible option. Right, sleight of hand isn't used, so we don't need that. Let's go acrobatics and investigation. Then we get 2 more. So you can, if you do push charisma, because you get so many skills as going down this route, you could go into this kind of stuff. Do insight and I guess persuasion. Right, now we get the class expertise. So I'm going to do stealth because it helps you sneak around a bit. And thieves' tools for unlocking stuff because nobody else is going to. Perception's another potential one, but... Nice little spy's codebook. Right. We haven't got anyone else that's popped up in chat yet, so we'll just randomize the name. Sounds good enough.
I thought we said cautious.
Looks like you found something. Look, a secret door.
Sounds particularly cynical. Right, we'll have a nice dwarf cleric. Which one's this? Wisdom, that's the one we want, so we want the hill dwarf. Now, we're going life domain because it gets you the healing spells, obviously, which are nice, but mostly because it gets you the heavy armor. And I want this as a second line, sort of also blocking to protect the squishies. Because rogue and wizard are both particularly squishy. have you be a acolyte. Lawful, altruism, kind. Right, you're going in there. That's heavy armor. Don't you need 14 strength for plate mail? I'm gonna have to actually pop out my D&D stuff now. Armor, plate mail, 15 strength. Oof. I wonder if the game models that. It possibly does. In which case that would have to go there. Otherwise you end up having to use your level 4 stat boost to get the strength up just to be able to wear it. I think we're going to end up with that. Or just ditch charisma, ditch dexterity even. Okay, medicine, 100%. And I guess history? Well, that's more of a wizard thing. Not too many choices there for the cleric. Now, you do get to pick your cantrips, so spare the dying, fairly obvious one. Rely on the wizard to have light, I think. So you can see if you're D&D familiar that there are a few in here that they've added of their own volition. We'll go Sacred Flame to give some range damage and guidance for skill checks. Barkeet. Yep. Forge hand, sure. Right, let's see what the voices are like.
Hold on to life, friend.
I underestimated you. My apologies.
What a fantastic leap! Go on! No. Bend the knee or perish.
I will not forget this.
I'd say that sounds the most cleric-y, maybe. Interesting, there's no muscularity slider. Alright, then the final one. Let's go for a high elf wizard. As Josh has said in chat, voice 3 did sound a lot like the Sisters of Battle from 40k. Right, Scholar's Pack is good. I don't want a component pouch, I want an orb as the spell focus. Sure, we'll go with the traditional staff. Why not? So, observant people have noticed the cleric didn't get to pick their spells other than the cantrips. That's because clerics can pick spells every long rest, and the game just kind of rolls you with some default ones to start with. As soon as you get your first long rest, which is fairly early in the game, you can do the usual, pick whatever you like. You will notice when we're picking spells on the wizard here that wizards actually do have to pick, as you would expect. Right, we'll go academic, because that gets me Arcana, Nature, and Insight. We'll have an egotistical. Yeah, pragmatic wizard, who's a bit cynical and a bit violent. Right. Straight in there for that. Now then. The dexterity just to get the armor class up, I think, is the play. Then the constitution. It's a d6 dice. Having one more isn't a massive deal. Whereas the AC actually completely blocking an attack with that +1 is much more beneficial. As usual, we'll have the strength of a rat. Wisdom for spell saves, charisma. Alright. So we've already got a lot of the intelligence skills. We'll put it in history. And I'm assuming my cleric got religion. Investigation. Now the fun bit. It's Ancestry cantrips. This is the one you get for being a high elf. So let's go with light, because light's always helpful. Then we get 3 cantrips. So we're going to want Firebolt. Good old faithful. 3 temporary hit points. Let's have Shocking Grasp for getting me out of being in contact. And psychic damage. How much psychic damage? 1d8. That's equivalent to Mind Slither, but without the save reduction. Also, wisdom saving throw. I mean, it's not a horrible thing to have, because Firebolt's dex, isn't it? Oh no, that's a to hit. So Shadow Dagger's a saving throw. Right. Yeah, let's do that. 1 to hit dice and 1 saving throw, depending on what we're fighting. Okay. So we definitely need Mage Armor, and we definitely need Identify, although it's going to sit in the Ritual section. What do we want next? Sleep is usually good early doors. I will not try and get Detect Magic yet. I mean, Burning Hands is pretty standard. I think Shield for defense, as Josh has suggested. So Sleep's a mass AoE. Let's have a control, but for a single target. So that's our only real damaging spell from the slots. We got controls mostly, but we can always add to it as we level up. Kendra Keenmine, that illiterate name, excellent. That'll do. Ah, interesting. Elves are allowed a physique, just not dwarves.
Kneel now, rise later.
Heave now, all your strength.
The fight is not yet over.
You're still in the fight, my friend.
Eh. They're all equally mediocre, I think. Right, new adventure. Let's go. So you slot in your characters here. And then you've got a difficulty choice. So story, if you don't want to really get into the combat too much, or if you want to die horribly, the bottom one, we'll go for authentic.